So welcome back again to Come and See Inspirations. At this part of the programme, we are going to have a chat with our invited guest for this particular week. And Shane, you invited Noirin Lynch from the Pastoral Centre in Limerick to join us this week to keep us up to date with, or bring us up to date with what's happening around the diocese. Is that right?
Exactly. Noreen, welcome back to the programme. As regular listeners will know, we have you on from time to time to give us a bit of an update as to what's happening on and around the place. As sometimes people mightn't know, but also just kind of in terms of good news of things that is happening throughout the diocese. So, what are the things that you would like to bring to our attention on this week's programme?
Well, Shane and John, it's lovely to be here this morning, and thanks a million. It really is lovely to feel that there's a natural point of connection with the radio programme and with so many of your listeners, so it's just really nice to be back again. Okay, I have three things really that I think might be of interest to people that they'd like to hear about. One is the Amoris programs, the Joy of Love programs that are happening in parishes and in spaces around the diocese. I want to tell you a little bit about that. The second is a special day around for people who are involved in liturgy, anybody who serves at Mass or who's involved in any of the different ways that we gather for prayer. And the third thing is the 24 Hours for the Lord initiative. So, will I jump straight in?
You might as well.
Let me tell you first, I've been on and been speaking before about this, the whole preparation for World Meeting of Families. And all through the autumn and into the spring, what we were offered was lovely resources that you could use every month in your parish, like people might have seen the Valentine's tokens or different things like that. You might have seen when a baby was baptised, a special card is available that says this month, this year, your child is baptised as we prepare for World Meeting of Families. Well, at the heart of that is that the Pope asked us to read the letter he wrote to families, which is called Amoris Laetitia, or the Joy of Love. And he wrote this letter to all families, and he said, if you're coming to World Meeting of Families, we'd love you to read this and to reflect on it. But I suppose the reality of busy life is that people find it hard to sit down and read a letter from the Pope. So what we did was we developed a 6-night, when I say we, I mean the Irish people, I don't mean I had anything to do with it, but actually Martin Kennedy, who's a Limerick man, was very involved. We developed a 6-night programme. And the idea is that across Lent and into Easter, that there'd be a chance for people to gather, maybe once a week, maybe once a fortnight, to watch a video on one aspect of what Pope Francis was talking about and to have a conversation. Now, by a conversation, I don't mean a debate, and it's quite important, actually. It's not a debate. It's really a chance for people to say, Pope Francis has something to say to my family. I'm going to go and listen to the videos. I'm going to have a bit of just a chat and listen to one another, and I'm going to go home with something to chew. So it's not about kind of coming to us all agreeing on something. It's just about all of us going home with something to chew each week so that we're, as a family, thinking, learning, going a little bit deeper, And I'm delighted. When we started offering this, I was wondering, would there be energy, would there be interest? But there's over 17, nearly 20 groups now that are going to run this programme, starting in February, probably most is starting in March. And I'll just give you some of the names from back west in Ardagh Parish. It's already begun. In Ballingarry, it's going to be happening soon. In Ballyagran, in Bruff, that's more South Limerick. In Drumculliher, in the city, there's a number of parishes. There's 7 or 8. Killeedy is going to host it. Kilmallock and Kilfinnan in the south. Mahuna, Sister Eileen is meeting with a group working at the moment, preparing for that. Then Patrickswell, Ballybrown, that's nearer into town. As I say, a lot of the city parishes as well are clustering in groups of 3 and 4 parishes and offering it together. And what a lot are doing are saying, let's have 3 gatherings in March before Easter, because Easter's so early this year, and then after Easter 3 more. And I think that's, for a lot of people, they're saying, yeah, that's something I could commit to, and that's quite interesting. So I'm very excited about that, because I'm just delighted to see people say, you know what, let's try this, and it's a very structured programme. There's 3 little videos, a short one at the beginning on what's the reality of family life, what's going on for Irish people. That's usually about 5 minutes. And actually there's 4 Limerick people in the videos. There's maybe 10 or 15 people interviewed saying what they think about this theme. But there's 4 Limerick people, so you have to look out and see who you recognise. And then there's a chance to chat, maybe 10 minutes. And then there's a short video again that is on the theme that we're talking about. What has Pope Francis got to say about family life on this theme? And rather than Pope Francis speaking to us, because he wouldn't be speaking in English, so that'd be difficult, what we have is some Irish people just saying, this is what Pope Francis is saying, just chatting. So Julie Kavanagh and Pat Corkery are there at the start, and there's a number of different people interviewed. But you just get a sense of what is Pope Francis saying on this theme. and then again a chance to chat. And people often say, gosh, I didn't realise that what I'm thinking and what the Pope's thinking are so similar, or I never looked at that perspective. And then there's a simple closing prayer, which is again given. So it's a very structured and simple, positive thing. So I'm really excited. And if anybody wants to know when and where for any of these venues, you can check locally, or you can give us a call here in the Pastoral Centre. We have the different dates and times, and we'll be happy to help you. That's 061 400 133. 061 400 133. So that's Amoris. Will I keep going, Shane? I'm talking.
You might as well.
Could I just jump in there, Noirin, just for a second?
Delighted, Jack.
Just let people know that the one in Arda is continuing each Sunday night at 7 p.m. in the local hall. So that's 7 p.m. local hall, and it goes on for about an hour and a half. I was there last week, actually, to be honest with you. I found the videos great. And it certainly, as Noirin said, gives you something to chew about, to go away and think about and so on and so forth. But there was one lovely quotation that I picked up last week. And actually, it's the Pope says, he tells us that a perfect family does not come down from the sky. And we all know that. And that's reality. It was nice to hear that coming from the Pope.
Isn't that lovely?
Lovely. Okay, Noirin.
The ordinariness of his language even is beautiful.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Thanks a million, John. It's lovely to hear that's happening. Now, 24 Hours for the Lord is a special initiative I want to mention as well. It's on March the 9th and the 10th. And it's Pope Francis asked for this to be started. He said, every Lent I want there to be, in every diocese, particular churches that say, we're going to be open for 24 hours and there's going to be a chance for people to come in. There'll be Eucharistic adoration and the Sacrament of Reconciliation will be available for 24 hours. And again, this year in his Lenten letter, he said, inspired by the words of Psalm 130, which is, with you is forgiveness. That's the theme, with you is forgiveness. Pope Francis said this event will take place Friday, March the 9th up to Saturday, March the 10th. And he's asking people to come forward. So the Augustinian Church in Limerick City has kindly offered again, which is fabulous. And we'll begin on Friday afternoon, the 9th of March, with a 4 o'clock Mass. And then there'll be adoration, prayer, reflection, and plenty of silence. People have said to us, we don't need always to have lots of music, lots of things happening. For adoration, sometimes silence is very beautiful. So plenty of silence, plenty of opportunity to pray right across the night. And all the time with the opportunity, we were asking our clergy just to help us. They're very good and very generous with their time, to give time right across the night so that a priest will be available for those who wish to receive the Sacrament of Reconciliation as part of their Lenten observances, as part of their preparation for Easter. And then it'll conclude on Saturday afternoon at 10 o'clock, Saturday afternoon, the 10th of March, there'll be a Mass for the sick at 3 o'clock. So we'll be praying right up almost until 4 o'clock then. So the Mass for the sick will be at 3 o'clock and everybody's welcome to that. We're we've just sent out a note to clergy to let them know, give them posters, ask them if they'll be able to help. But we're also saying to local faith communities, local movements who might say, well, we would be comfortable with coming in and maybe leading a small bit of prayer or reading a reflection. If anybody wants to be involved, they're more than welcome, but they need to contact us so that we can organise. And again, they can contact us on that. They can contact me, Noirin, on that number, 061 400 133. And just, as I say, plenty of silence, plenty of gentle time for prayer, but also the opportunity occasionally just to hear some words, maybe a piece of music or something that helps people in their reflections. So that'll be gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to that too. And then the last thing, are you still awake? Are you still with me? You're great. The last thing is to tell you about a special day we're having around liturgy. And I suppose my area, I always have worked with parish councils and parish ministry groups, but in the last 2 years, Bishop Brendan has asked me to work in the area of liturgy. And probably the biggest learning for me has been the centrality of liturgy, of how we pray, all our prayers, our Mass, that's central. But you suddenly realise how absolutely important it is that every single person who's involved in leading liturgy, if they're a minister of the Eucharist, a minister of the Word, if they're in the choir, if they prepare the space, if they're leading maybe the prayer in a funeral home, if they're bringing communion to someone, every single person is in such a special place, and it's such a moment of grace that we need the chance to gather occasionally and to think about what we're doing and to pray about what we're doing. So we try every year to have a liturgy day on different themes. And I suppose the thing that struck me this year, because we've been preparing for morning services if we don't have Mass on a weekday morning. And now we're looking at funeral prayers. If, say, for example, not in the church now, but at the undertakers or maybe in somebody's home, if a priest isn't available, how will we lead those prayers? And it struck me that we could become quite diverse. We could all be going off doing our own thing. But actually, liturgy, the way we pray in public as a parish, has a heart and a core of it. So we're going to have a day called Lord, Teach Us to Pray, Creating Relevant and Inspiring Parish Liturgy for All. And someone said to me, oh, you'd have to have a degree in theology to go to that. And I said, no. I said, the opposite is true. What we want is to have as many people as possible who are involved on the ground in Sunday Mass or in bringing communion to the sick or in leading prayers at different times to come together so that we can together talk a little bit about this. Like, who is all this prayer for? You know, if our prayer is simply for those who can come to morning Mass, then that's a small group. But what if when we gather every morning to pray, we're actually praying for the whole parish on behalf of the whole parish? Now suddenly our prayer becomes really important because it's not just about me and a few people, it's actually about everyone. And on behalf of everyone, we've made this commitment to pray. So what about when we go to a funeral and we go to a funeral home or we go to somebody's home and lead some prayer? Is this a personal thing that I can do because I know what to do? Or am I acting on behalf of the whole parish so that the family know the parish care and can be with them right through from the moment of bereavement right through to the graveside, that we will be with them and support them? It's one parish liturgy. So what we're going to do is have a morning in Rathkeil House Hotel on the 10th of March. Everything's happening at the same time. We're going to start at 9:30 with a cup of tea so that at 9:45 we have morning prayer. Then I've invited Dr. Anne Francis, who's both a friend and a wonderful, warm mother and theologian, who does a lot of training with liturgy groups and with those who prepare prayers and liturgy. And she's going to talk about what and who is parish liturgy for. You know, all the different ways we pray, what's at the heart of it. And I think that's going to be really nourishing. It's going to give everybody something to go home and feel confident and good about. And then we're going to have 3 workshops. And you can pick your workshop. You can go along to Planning Holy Week Liturgies, which is going to be a really practical workshop across Holy Week, resources for each day, and just kind of how do we focus on what we're doing? How do we get, you know, bring a theme through the whole week so that they're not separate events, but that we're really joining the dots. Then the second workshop is going to be for anybody who's been involved in leading public prayer, any lay person, lay-led liturgy of any kind that you've been leading prayer. I've asked Maureen Kelly, who works in the Killaloe Diocese around liturgy, and she works with liturgy groups. She goes into parishes where they're not going to have an opportunity for weekday Mass and sometimes even Sunday Mass. And she works with people on the ground, helping them to prepare. And I've asked her to do a kind of a reflective review because I thought it'd be really good for people to be able to really talk about their experiences, even if they haven't been able to do much or if they've done a lot. And just to have a space with somebody outside of the diocese you can really chat and talk and say, look, these are the things that are coming up for us. These are the questions we have. This is what we need support with. And then the third workshop is actually, I'm going to the Diocese of Cork and Ross, and we've invited 2 members of their funeral team to come up, because this funeral question is live. We're conscious that our priests are the central people who lead liturgy, but there's also a need for lay people who can lead perhaps in the undertakers, the funeral homes, in homes when there's a wake at night, lead prayer. But it's not simply about reading a prayer. It's not simply about leading it. There's a big pastoral piece to it. There's a big piece about care. And what they have in Cork and Ross seems really good. The way they go to the home on the first day and bring the booklet, help the family to prepare, pick the readings for the Mass, the different things. Then they are there if they're needed for prayer with the priest, or if a priest can't be there, they're there. But generally with the priest they're working. And then one of them will try and be there on the day of the funeral, again, just to support the family in a practical way if they have any questions. Now, I think it's a really nice, warm way of working. So we've asked 2 of them to come up and to tell us what they do, so that if any parish is saying, we're not sure, we may need this, or we've started and we're not sure, people could come along and hear an experience and say, would that be helpful? And based on what people are saying, then we'll develop some more training that might happen after Easter or in early autumn. And so the balance of Anne Francis offering us something nourishing and the workshops offering us something quite practical, I'm hoping. We'll be finished by 1:00, by 1:30, sorry, we'll finish by 1:30, and people will be off home with maybe, I suppose, a sense of that they can create relevant and inspiring parish liturgy for all. So that's on Saturday the 10th of March as well, 9:30 to 1:30. and everyone's welcome. Ring 061 400 133 to book. Now, I'll stop talking after all of that information. I hope you're all still okay.
Noirin, well done. Can I just mention something that was on your newsletter, and it's happening actually next Sunday, the 4th of March, live Stations of the Cross for families. People just might be interested in that. It's on at 1 p.m. I think in St Saviour's, isn't that right?
It is. It's on at 1 exactly. What it is the 1 p.m. family mass, and then what they're inviting people to do is come for the family mass and then bring a dish to share for a potluck lunch. And there'll be live Stations of the Cross, games, crafts for the family. So basically, mass is at 1, the Sunday mass, and then there'll be live Stations of the Cross afterwards, families afterwards, a chance to share some food together. So very much just a positive family afternoon. And that the St Saviour's Church is the Dominican church right up there near the station, near the train station. So you'll know that the clock there that's just down the station, and that's that church there. That's where the Dominican sisters are now, and it's a lovely parish. People will be very welcome.
Lovely. And Noirin, this is the last time now. I think you will regret me ever reading this newsletter. But anyway,
that's great.
There's one on there now that maybe some ladies in the who are listening to us might be interested in. There's a Women's World Day of Prayer, March the 2nd. That's next Friday, isn't it?
It is.
Next Friday. Tell us about that.
Women's World Day of Prayer is prepared by women, but it's for everyone. So it's open to. It's not simply a women's event, but it's a commitment by women, Christian women all over the world, that there would be one day when they would consciously be aware of one another, consciously be aware of the world we live in, and consciously pray together. So every single year around the world for I can't remember how many years now, but for 60 or 70 years, 60 years I think, there's been a Women's World Day of Prayer hosted by a different country. So a country takes it on. Ireland, I think it was in the 90s, we actually did this. You take on this. Prepare all the resources and include in the resources information about your country. And so this year, the country is a place called Suriname, which is in Central America, South America, which I actually had never heard of. I had to go and search for it. I was fascinated. Small place, incredibly beautiful and incredibly poor. And the theme they have chosen is all God's creation is very good. And so the resources they've created are free and available. There's going to be a service in St Michael's Church of Ireland Church up at Perry Square in Limerick City on Friday, 2nd of March at 7:30, and everyone's welcome. It's always a lovely ecumenical service. Vicky Lynch, the Methodists, and the Church of Ireland. There's a great mix of people there, lovely music, and everybody's very welcome. But it's very Bible-centred. It's very much about celebrating all our different nations, all our different cultures, and the whole context always is that sense of gratitude to God, that sense of being called out of ourselves, out of our own small worlds, into recognising God who's good across the whole universe. So that'll be lovely. I just might mention, actually, when I have the chance, that the Limerick Choral Festival is actually on next weekend as well. It's starting Friday, the 2nd of March. At the opening concert, the Limerick Chamber Orchestra and Ardu Vocal Ensemble will be in St Mary's Cathedral. They have a whole website with lots of information. So if you look up the Limerick Choral Festival, there's a Treasures of Polyphony, a concert in the Sacred Heart Church on Sunday, which is it will be incredibly beautiful music from a high school choir that's over from the States, and Limerick Youth Choir. So they've a lot of things. They have competitions, excuse me, and so that Limerick Choral Festival will be really beautiful and worth seeing as well. So there's lots happening, plenty to be keeping an eye out for.
I tell you, certainly is. Listen, as you mentioned there about we just mentioned there about Stations of the Cross, just to let people know. Next Sunday, next week's programme, next Sunday's programme, will actually include ourselves doing praying our annual Stations of the Cross here on Sacred Space. This year, we're focusing in on the Trócaire work in Sierra Leone. We'll have a speaker to chat with us for a few minutes to introduce what wonderful work they're doing there in Sierra Leone. But then in part 2 and part 3 of the programme, myself, Shane and Lorraine are going to pray the Stations of the Cross that are actually up on the Trócaire website, a beautiful Stations of the Cross. So we invite you again, and anybody again who would like to join us, you might just pass on the word. Next week on Sacred Space, Come and See Inspirations, we'll be presenting Trócaire's Stations of the Cross. Shane, did I forget anything, or did we forget to nail poor old Noreen on anything at all?
I don't think.
I think we might give her a break at this particular stage.
Exactly.
Noreen, there's a piece of music that I asked you whether you'd like to play going out in this. Can you introduce that for us, please?
It's a very simple piece. It was just when I thought of, you had Tom Kenzie there, and I thought he's a nice version of This Little Light of Mine. And I suppose one of the things I'm always conscious of is we can all be in our different parishes, in our different communities, in our different groups, like the radio here, feeling that there's only a few of us. And yet in some way, all over the place, these little lights are shining. And I often think that from God's perspective, that there's like these tiny little lights all over the place, and he's just thinking there's so much happening, and we're going, oh, there's only a few of us and it's very difficult. But actually, as we let shine the light that we have, as we do what we can do where we are, it's enough for God, and it's good, and therefore it's worth singing and being glad about and celebrating and saying thanks be to God, we can do what we can do. It is enough.
So, Noreen, thanks for that. So now, guys out there, don't forget, shine your little lights. That's what Noreen's inviting us to do. And listen
Sing along.
Listen to this piece of music, and it'll help us to do that. Okay.